In recent developments from the Middle East, Hamas has now stated that they will not abide by the ceasefire unless Israel releases 620 Palestinian prisoners who were scheduled to be freed last Saturday. Hamas official Basem Naim also said that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is intentionally sabotaging the Gaza ceasefire agreement, which looks more fragile than ever. Meanwhile, the United Nations has stated that they are gravely concerned about rising violence in the West Bank. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said the latest raid across the West Bank was expanding and that troops would remain in the area's urban hotspots for the coming year. For more on this discussion, we are joined by Yeshaya Rosenman, Project Director at Israel India Matri Project, located in Israel, and we're also joined by Ali M. Abushbak, independent Palestinian researcher. Thank you very much for joining us. Ali M. Abushbak, I wanted to come to you first. Hamas says this ceasefire cannot move forward until Israel releases these Palestinian prisoners. Could you elaborate why this prisoner release is such a pivotal condition for Hamas, and is there any room for negotiations in this?
Thank you for having me, but let me first highlight that the people in Gaza are anticipation the escalation of the threat with the conscious about the fragile ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. Hamas, it seems that they are acting as a stop-in about releasing, and Israel must be commitment for their obligation according to the signed agreement ceasefire between them. The 600 plus Palestinian prisoners, they are supposed to release last week, the beginning of this week, but unfortunately Benjamin Netanyahu, he suspended the deal or the operation, the progress of releasing this prisoner. In my opinion, that it will not be a huge case since Hamas showing their relying on the strategy of self-control about the Israeli violation on the ground.
Yeshaya Rosenman, can I have your thoughts, please? Is there any scope for negotiation on these prisoner releases in order to achieve this lasting ceasefire?
Hi, thank you for having me. As to the stage one of the hostage deal, yes, I think there is hope that what has already been signed upon will happen. The outrage in Israel is over the despicable display of babies' coffins being paraded around in front of Gazan children and in parades with large crowds. This is not acceptable in any prisoner exchange anywhere in the world, and there's no reason why it should be accepted here. So Israel demanded that these displays stop, and they are, in the meanwhile, not releasing the Palestinian prisoners until they have confirmation from Hamas that it will stop. But yes, I think the first stage can very well happen. The question is what is beyond that, because the second stage is far more difficult, given that the end game of both sides is incompatible. Israel wants all the hostages released, whereas Hamas wants to remain in power. And once they release the last hostages, that is their last human shield, and nothing will stop Israel from resuming the war and toppling Hamas's regime.
Yes, Ali M. Abushbak, I wanted to move on now, and so Hamas officials have accused Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, of deliberately disrupting the ceasefire deal. From a Palestinian perspective, what specific actions or policies do you believe are preventing progress towards a lasting ceasefire agreement?
See, there is no two can be disagree about that. Benjamin Netanyahu, he trying to bide the time and trying to make any trouble about the ceasefire and the progress of negotiation between and moving forward the second phase of the negotiation between Hamas and Israel, which as Yuha, he said that it's more difficult than the first phase and it has a lot of a challenge. But here is that the US Middle East envoy, he was so optimistic about it, and he was thinking that he will put his pressure on Hamas and Israel to sit on the table and discuss about the next or the coming future for Gaza. In Palestinian, they are thinking that Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to delay the negotiation, or moving for the second phases of the negotiation. On the ground, people are not. There is no hope for Palestinian, and there is no choice for the people in Gaza except to wait and see and monitoring what will happen. But
Yeshaya Rosenman, I wanted to now talk about the extended operations in the West Bank. Israel have announced that they will be expanding their operations for the coming year, preventing a reported 40,000 displaced people from returning to their homes. What's the strategic reasoning behind this long-term presence, and how do you address international concerns over humanitarian impacts?
Yes, so the refugee camps around Jenin had been no man's land for many years. Theoretically, they are under the jurisdiction of the Palestinian Authority, of Mahmoud Abbas's Palestinian Authority in Ramallah. In practice, they have no governance whatsoever. They are very corrupt. They're incompetent. They have their own criminal elements and corruption within them. So nobody essentially was ruling Jenin, and it was taken over by gangs, but by gangs that are both criminal and terrorist aligned. Fighting among themselves as well. So they had been stockpiling their tremendous amount of weapons. They had started building tunnel infrastructure, basically emulating the kind of tactics from Gaza. When the IDF had gone in there previously in smaller incursions, there had been IEDs, homemade IEDs, large ones used against IDF vehicles. So the place has just become a powder keg, both of criminal activity and terrorist activity. It should be said, for example, that the weapons produced there are also used within Israel among Arab citizens of Israel, who are 20% of the Israeli population. And the murder rate among Arab Israeli population is 3 times that as of the Jewish population. So it was an unmanageable powder keg. And the IDF has decided finally, and this is long overdue, to take it apart. Why it will take a year or not, I don't know. I don't know what the long-term objectives are beyond removing the weapons, arresting whoever has to be arrested, and the basic question remains of who will actually govern that place. The only clear thing that I can say about staying there a year is that the IDF will govern it for a year, and some governance is better than none. But beyond that, I'm not sure.
Ali M. Abushbak, Islamic Jihad, a Palestinian group, alleges that these Israeli tank deployments are part of plans to annex the West Bank by force. How widespread is that belief among Palestinian factions, and does it influence unified or divergent strategies among these groups?
Well, this is the first time since 2002, and when Israel carried out the operation of defensive shield in West Bank, that Israeli tank on the ground invaded the West Bank. I guess that the Palestinian resistance in Jenin and all the West Bank is not that much developed like that in Gaza, and they don't have the advanced weapon in West Bank. They are since they are limited, and since that there is a continuous Israeli operation and arresting from the Israeli troop in West Bank. So in my opinion, this invasion or this operation in West Bank, particularly in Jenin, Benjamin Netanyahu, he's trying to move the version of Gaza to Jenin and in West Bank, since no one can read his mind and no one knows what's the purpose of this step from Benjamin Netanyahu. But the thing is, everyone confirmed that Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to make the Israeli far right wing satisfy with his policy against the Palestinian on the ground. But what is saying Islamic Jihad, because Islamic Jihad in Jenin, it's more popular and has a little bit of support from the Palestinian resistance. However, in my opinion, this is just only a try from Benjamin Netanyahu to buy the time in West Bank.
Yeshaya Rosenman, with tensions running high and trust between parties at a very low point, Is the Israeli government open to diplomatic initiatives or maybe a further third-party mediation that could jumpstart broader peace negotiations?
I think the question that is on people's minds is the day after in Gaza, who will rule the place, since we don't want Hamas ruling the place, the possibility of relocating Gazan population that Trump had mentioned, those kind of plans the day after. Peace negotiations based on the two-state formula has no support in Israel, in Israeli government. It is an opinion that is off the table for the foreseeable future.